Hi, my name's Aaron Espindola,
And I'm Linda OJ.
and welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Business Podcast.
Let's go.
The Next Gen Business Podcast is produced by the Small Business Community Network. Visit them online at www.sbcncanada.org.
So, Aaron, you've come up trumps again. You've got us a wonderful guest on where I can gather from the bio.
Oh yeah, we had this guest reach out to us on our Instagram page, and we're super excited to have her on. Her name is Allison. I don't want to butcher the last name, but I think it's Procomp. But she is the tea geek and plant nerd behind Geek and Tea.
Well, that sounds very interesting. So I'm going to say, Alison, do we call you Alison or Ali?
You can call me Ali. Thank you.
Ali. Now, I'm a Brit. I love tea. So, Tea Geek, is that what it sounds like to me? It sounds delicious.
Absolutely. So I am the owner and the grower of Geek and Tea. And essentially I infuse, yes, I'm going to use lots of puns during this interview. I infuse my love of pop culture and art with tea. So I've come up with a pretty unique branding. One of the ways I'm able to share my love of both plants and arts is through my tea, really.
That's amazing. How did you get started into all this? I think you were talking about something about like doing schooling and all that. If you want to just tell our viewers.
Sure. So as you can imagine from the word geek, I am a geeky person. I am also a nerd through and through. So I spent many years, sometimes I think too much time at school, but my undergrad was in plant biology and horticulture. And I was that annoying student that found a whole bunch of loopholes, and I was able to double count courses. So I managed to get a double major. And then the Dean of Sciences said, no, Allison, you can't do that. I then went on to do my Master's of Science in Plant Pathology, so studying epidemiology and how diseases move in plants. I was a florist at one point, a horticulturalist. I eventually settled into community and urban farming, which is what I love and I do for a lot of my career now. And oh gosh, I think it was in 2013 I actually started my business. So it's been a while, which is fantastic because I'm still in business. But I started off as a herbalist, really trying to help other people understand how plants are not just there for our use for breathing because they provide us with oxygen, but they're also medicine. But then very slowly, all the geeky and nerdiness started kind of seeping its way through, and I kind of did a little bit of a switch, and I started to focus more on my art, and I really found that more people were being drawn to tea. So that's kind of like the Reader's Digest condensed version of how I am Geek and Tea now.
Oh my goodness, that's the most amazing story. Now let me just confirm something. When you say you're a geek, so does that mean you're very technical, you're very clever with those kinds of things, or is it different terminology?
Yeah, I'm a pretty clever person. Lots of really bad jokes, of course, in there. But I like to think a geeky person is someone who's just very, very passionate about certain things. So if we could say passionate about tea or passionate about plants.
Aaron, this is so interesting. Thank goodness this young lady approached you on Instagram to ask to be our guest. It's amazing. It really is. So you actually make you come up with the tea do you grow the leaves? I don't know what it's called.
So tea itself, Camellia sinensis, the one we're used to where it's like a black tea or green tea. Unfortunately, I can't grow that in Canada. Our climate just doesn't work for it. Although there is one place in British Columbia and they have a very small plantation. But what I do is I buy teas from different farms. I want to say farms as opposed to plantations, and really draw some differences there. So farms being owned by one or two people, very independent. They're no larger than 15 acres in size. Whereas plantations, think of everything is row upon row upon row, and it's like hundreds of acres owned by a corporation. So I really look for small independent growers to buy the tea, and I import it here. I mostly get it from China, a couple from Japan. I have these 2 cooperatives in Sri Lanka, and they're amazing because they're actually female-owned co-ops, which for, the Eastern world is quite different. Then I also get rooibos or red bush from South Africa, and then like all these other exotic herbs and spices from Costa Rica because I had traveled there during my undergrad. But the thing that really sets me apart is that I'm a grower. I like to grow plants first. So things like calendula, sunflowers, any of the mints, peppermint, spearmint, skullcap, like valerian root, those are things that I grow on family property in Ontario. Yeah.
I honestly want to say I think I only know one of those plants.
I told you, nerd.
But it was really interesting to hear that you bring all these different plants in. How is it logistically bringing them into Canada? Is it something that you do, like you handle yourself, or do you have like a third-party distributor that kind of does that? Because I know I did a project on like coffee breweries or roasteries, and there was like these third-party companies that deal with the farmers, and then they take a cut. Do you deal with the growers directly, or do you use a third party?
For about 90% of what I import, I do direct trade. So that's where I'm dealing straight with the farmers, which, as somebody who is very much an Anglophile, and I only know a little bit of Scots Gaelic, or when my Ukrainian grandmother is yelling at me, language can be a barrier. So I do have a couple of brokers that are able to help with doing those translations, but they don't take a cut because the thing that's really important to me is organic and fair trade. So someone who is a first generation farmer and a woman in agriculture, it's difficult getting into this field and also being successful. We don't always get the recognition as somebody who grows food. So then having that point of view, I can take that and apply it to how I'm importing. I do also have a couple of wholesalers. So there's the grower, and then there's going to be like maybe the co-op, then there might be a distributor, and eventually a wholesaler. So you can see that money doesn't always trickle down to the actual grower. But the wholesalers have been absolutely phenomenal with working with me. They love my quirky personality and the branding. And they kind of let me just piggyback on some of their contacts. And I've been able to develop relationships that way. For my spices, things like vanilla and nutmeg, I actually went to a farm in Costa Rica many moons ago when I was in university. It was a very interesting experience. It was owned by an expat who decided to flee from the Vietnam War and set up this spice farm in Costa Rica. So I've been there. I've seen how vanilla grows wild. I've harvested cinnamon bark off of a cinnamon tree. So I've got those relationships really developed.
You're so passionate and knowledgeable, and I'm just blown away. It's just amazing. So when you were, in high school, did you dream about this, or is this something that just happened out the, you thought about it, obviously, but you know what I mean?
In high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I applied to go into biomedical science at U of T in Guelph, and then I realized once I got to Guelph and spent my first semester, and I had to kind of choose between having a social life or just being in the books. Well, I wonder which way I went.
This is where Aaron could jump in, and you're making the same, or you did make the same challenges and thoughts there, didn't you? You wanted your social life, Aaron, but you wanted to do well at college, and you've got your own business. So you two are like two peas in a pod. You are really, you're amazing. So, Aaron, this is a wonderful story, isn't it? Because I think, for our listeners who may be graduating university or college or even in high school, I'm guessing it will give them food for thought, won't it, Aaron, as to, how Ali came up with this idea?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the common theme amongst a lot of people that come and start their own business is that they have to be super passionate about it. And from the sound of it, you sound extremely passionate about it, which when you tell people and you describe your company, they can just feed off of that. They can kind of get passionate with you and be like, oh my God, I'm going to drink coffee for the rest of my life now.
Funny thing is, it's tea.
Tea, my bad.
Yeah, coffee's a big no-no.
Now, do you employ people? Have you got people working for you?
I have a couple of people that are contracted, but not full-time, which means I do everything. I do the growing, I do the packaging, I do the blending, I do all the marketing. I pull my hair out when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting because I absolutely don't like it. So I definitely would suggest sticking to your strengths. I do all the educational sessions, things like this. But the things you don't like to do, like there are days where I definitely like bang my head on the floor, the wall, the table, any pots and pans I can find, because it's the things that cause the roadblock. And then I can't move forward. I'm just passionate in these other areas. So then I just like to contract a couple small things out to other individuals.
That's a great idea. You can't do it all. And I guess myself and Aaron have found the same, with our businesses, different businesses. We have to contract things out. We have to do the things that we're really good at. So again, how much time do you spend on your business? I mean, do you ever sleep?
This time of year, I don't sleep because it is harvest season. So I spend most mornings getting up about 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm out in the field harvesting, like cutting the leaves off of, I did sage this morning. So then that will get hung up and dried in the barn, and then eventually it has to be broken down. So I do all of that. In the afternoon when it gets hot, so we've had some really, really hot days this year, I might take a siesta, but usually I try and find somewhere with air conditioning, and that's when I do my either packaging, like putting the tea into actual bags with the art and the stickers, catching up on emails, that sort of thing. But when it comes to farming, because my business really is farm first, and then my product is tea. You have long days, and I always like to say to those who are interested in getting into whether it's urban gardening, backyard gardening, but you want to have a business where you're growing, you have to think of it more as a lifestyle, because when the plants are growing, you go, and it's just go, go, go. And then like November rolls around, the world has gone to sleep. That's when the snow comes, and that's when you get to relax. Now for me, because my product is tea, then we've got Christmas, and it's Christmas shows. So then you're go, go, go again for December. And then everything is just nice and quiet in January. And then you start again in February. For
your product, do you just sell online, or do you go to like local farmer markets and stuff like that? Or
yeah, so I'm located in Hamilton, so I do have online e-commerce, which through the past year and a bit has been great because I had already set up as an e-commerce business. The first Saturday of every month, my mom, God bless her, runs the Aurelia Fairgrounds Farmers Market. So we've got a stand there. Starting in November, I will be at the Ottawa Street Farmers Market here in Hamilton. And then I also have a couple of stores in town and around the province where you can pick up my teas.
Is this a lot to do with the sustainability though as well? You know that you want to ensure that it's all kind of pure and organic and that kind of thing. I mean, I know not much about it, but
Yeah, so anything that I grow, I don't use any chemicals whatsoever. I use good old manure and compost. And then if I exhibit a shortfall, like let's say I don't have enough lavender, then I'll buy it from a local farmer. But anything that I buy in is certified Canada Organic. So I always have that standard, which is really, really important.
How do you find the rules for shipping food via mail? Is it like really complicated to fill that out or no?
Very easy. Thankfully, tea and herbs fall under NAFTA, so I never get stuck at the border,
Oh.
which is great. Yeah.
that's good to know. So, if anyone is listening, whether they are still at school, whether they graduated, whether they want to start a business like this, where would they start? Obviously, with a passion, that's essential. But where would you suggest they start?
Well, yeah, I was definitely going to say follow your passion, because that's the thing that's going to carry you forward. And really start working on your network. You need to have great support around you. For me, that was starting to go to farmers markets and getting to know the local farmers, learning from them. I mean, obviously, I've spent a lot of my lifetime already learning how to grow, but I'm always trying new things every day in my different gardens or on the farm. But yeah, you just got to go for it. Honestly, we have one life to live, and as long as you really enjoy what you're doing, I think it will be a success.
That's a wonderful, wonderful way to think about it. Now, the question many people will ask is, does this actually pay your bills? Is this something you can actually say, you're able to live by, or do you have to find another way to actually pay your bills? Because many people say, well, how does she make money from this?
No, that's a absolutely great and honest question to ask. Farming, you don't make millions of dollars. Let me tell you that. Like I said, it's a lifestyle. I live very simply. I don't need a lot of stuff around me. Right now, things pay for my luxuries. I can go on a small trip every year. My cell phone, my internet, everything that's related to the car is covered, and half my rent, which I consider a really big success to myself. And then the end goal is absolutely doing this full time. But right now it is part-time. I have another job where I am a community garden coordinator. So I'm still working within kind of the same world, the same industry of like growing, but working for a nonprofit allows me to do a lot of the social justice that doesn't quite fit within the model of my business. So it's a nice, happy balance.
That's a good answer. Thank you for being so honest with our listeners and our viewers, because as you know, I own two businesses, and one of them is a business networking organisation. And people say, I want to be rich like you, Linda. I don't want to do any work. And unfortunately, it's hard work becoming rich, and I'm no way rich. So, Heron, what do you think? I mean, what can we leave with our viewers as a really good question to Ali that, your brain has come up with?
The only thing I see is for tea, I personally drink a lot of coffee. I'm not a huge tea person, but I was wondering.
Sorry to hear.
What would you tell people that say coffee is better than tea?
Oh, no. I'm very sorry to hear that you're a coffee drinker, first of all. You must have a very high tolerance for caffeine. I think, that's a really good question. Usually I just kind of write it off and I'm like, oh, those coffee drinkers. But I used to be a coffee drinker when I was in university. There was a time and a place for it. I will be honest, I had a lot of very late nights as a social butterfly, and then trying to get to 8 a.m. classes when it was like microbiology in the world's darkest like lecture hall. You needed coffee to get through because it gives you that really big jolt. But the thing I love about tea is that you still can get caffeine, and if you need that high amount, that high octane caffeine, I do have a couple blends where like there's actually more caffeine per cup than coffee. So it really comes down to your taste. Coffee, I think, really appeals to people that like that kind of umami and bitterness, whereas tea, you start bringing in a lot of florals and fruits. And honestly, like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of different teas around the world. There's not just black, green, oolong, and, you know, like green tea. So I think it's going to be split on how I answer. One is not necessarily better than the other. No, that's not true. Tea is definitely better than coffee.
And how about, guys, we come to this conclusion, moderation in everything. Not too much coffee, not too much tea. I love a cup of tea every morning with my toast and marmalade. Because
that's how I have breakfast, yeah.
And then Dave and myself have a coffee break about 10:30, 10:45 if we can manage it, because we're both working from home at the moment. Well, what happens during this part of the show, we hate to let you go, Alison, we really do, but this has been one of the most interesting, it's been thought-provoking, it's been funny, your personality is just amazing. When you do go full-time, I think your personality and the way you come over to people will be a huge selling point, because people like to deal with people who are happy and love what they do, and you're amazing. So I will say goodbye to you, but Aaron will also say goodbye to you and thank you in a minute. But this is where Aaron has to, you know, invite our viewers to do things, don't you, my angel?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Gotta talk to the viewers for a little bit, but thank you so much, Ali, for being on the show. We really love having guests on here, especially in different fields, because then our viewers have the ability to see what it's like for other people in business, right? And then for people that are listening, our subscribers, or people who are on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button or follow us on the Next Gen Business Podcast. That's going to be our Instagram handle, as well as the beginning part of our website, where you can actually go to our website and fill out the form to be one of our guests. So if you do want to be a guest, just make sure to DM us on Instagram or do the form on our webpage, and then make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and thank you for watching.
Thanks for listening. Check us out at www.nextgenbusinesspodcast.com.